apart from making history, we also have to remember that TTUTA is at a point where the organization needs to grow, where the organization needs to move from mass membership to mass participation. And so it will be our mission as newly elected officers to make sure that we connect with members.
There you see it at her moment of saying that they connect with members. Now, interesting backstory. Antonia DeFreitas is now the new president of TTUTA. It's the first time in the organization's history that there's a female heading the organization. I'm very excited about that because I think when female leadership is allowed to flourish, you see major changes. And when women support women, even better changes take place. A little side note there. But on the other side, she was part of Team Renaissance. She's the only person from Team Renaissance that won a position in the executive. So she now not only is going to chart a way forward, but has to bridge what may have been a heated election with other entities from other groups. How are they going to move forward? And also, this stemming from a day of protests yesterday in San Fernando. Teachers assembled saying that they're tired of the disrespect meted out to them by the CPU. Mr. DeFreitas, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you. I'm fine. Thank you, Hema.
And congratulations on your win.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
How long have you been in the teaching fraternity?
I have actually been a primary school teacher for 32 years.
So 3 decades as a teacher, giving your life.
Roughly, that's a long time, huh?
It is a long time. Now you've decided to put yourself up and you've won. Why did you decide to take on the role or to take on an active position in TTUTA?
No, I would have been active in TTUTA for almost 27 years at different levels. But I would have also served as first vice president 2013 to 2016. And what I would have realized during that time is that as leaders of TTUTA, you are in a position to influence change, to interact with the stakeholders and really and truly get things done. As president of TTUTA, one of my main responsibilities would be publicity and public relations. And as you would have highlighted in the clip that you just played, I believe that we need to reconnect with teachers. I believe that our members need to get more involved. Our women, we have majority of women in the teaching service, and we need to have our women teachers feel empowered, feel that they can really and truly make a difference in terms of the union and what the union does for the system.
What is the ratio of, in terms of the gender, the teaching profession and the ratio in your executive?
Within the teaching profession, you have roughly 80% female. That's about 80% of 14,000 plus teachers. On the executive, at present, we have 3 males and 3 females.
So it's quite split in the middle.
It is.
Hopefully we'll get it one day. Maybe we can see more. You know, I always talk about the U.S. Supreme Court and looking at those numbers.
Correct.
But when you look at your mandate, let's talk a little bit about what you hope to bring to the table. When people see Antonia DeFreitas, TTUTA has always had a very adversarial relationship with the government. What do you think is going to be the relationship under your tenure?
Well, adversarial may be a bit of an overstatement. I think there will be times when the union, any union and the state would perhaps agree to disagree when you have your differences and you need to sort them out. But we have always worked well as an organization with the stakeholders, with the Ministry of Education, with the Teaching Service Commission, with the CPU. Where there have been points of contention, we would have addressed it to represent members' interests. Under my tenure and with my new executive, we intend to continue forging such relationships. But at the end of the day, Hema, we cannot continue along the road that we would have started 40 years ago. We need to look at current realities. We want to be able to redirect the narrative on education. We want to be able to say, listen, as a major stakeholder, look at the information, look at the data provided by practitioners in the field, look at what teachers have to say, hear what teachers have to say, and let that information guide your initiatives, guide your reforms. We have situations in schools, for example, health and safety issues, where teachers and students are expected to be in classrooms and environments that are injurious or hazardous to their health. And that is not being addressed in a timely manner.
Now, you have the situation, I know EFCL was called under question, but you have repair programs every single year, and we've been receiving messages on CNC3 that a number of schools are closed, and that two weeks into the new school terms, these schools have been closed. Do you have any information about that?
Well, that is correct. We have schools that are either closed because of health and safety or because of repair issues. For example, Princestown 1 and 2 Presbyterian, they are not closed. But for many years, we've been waiting on the construction of Princestown 1 Presbyterian. Ramai Trace Hindu, they are waiting to return to their new building. So that the issue with EFCL and school construction and school maintenance is but a part of the problem. We believe that if the Ministry of Education has a comprehensive school maintenance and a school repair plan, then some of those problems could be alleviated and things could be addressed before the reopening of school. However, we also have the situation where the OSH agency, for example, which would implement aspects of the OSH Act, would be looking at situations in schools and indicating, for example, that teachers are to return to such environments. Edinburgh 500, for example, Claxton Bay Junior Anglican Primary, Union Claxton Bay Secondary, Couva West Secondary. These are schools that have either health and safety issues due to pigeon droppings, infestation, due to mold in the environment, and teachers and students have become ill. And what we have the OSH agency saying, for example, is that, listen, it's not injurious. It's not going to cause imminent danger. But the fact that you and I and the students have to seek medical treatment means that it's hazardous to health.
How many schools would you say fall within that category of you are not happy and not satisfied with the conditions?
Right now, if we probably have more than 30 schools in such a situation.
And then how many schools are closed and are not open and not allowing for teaching to take place?
I would say at least 6 of them are actually closed at this point.
And that is out of the 30?
Out of the 30. So as a new executive, the health and safety environment and providing that decent work environment would be one of our priorities going forward.
Now, also looking at your tenure. Yesterday, you kind of got thrown into the thick of things with a planned day of protest.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about the reaction, the turnout, and the numbers.
I think the day was quite successful, Hema. We had probably about 2,500, if not more, teachers from across Trinidad and Tobago. And we started from the promenade around 1:15 thereabouts through streets of San Fernando. But at the end of the day, what we realized is that teachers were willing to heed the call of the union and come out and support. When I spoke to my colleagues and I delivered that first speech, it was really and truly to thank them for their support. What we realize now is that members are ready for change. Members are ready to really and truly participate in union life. And I think that is a good first response. The members of the new executive, my colleagues, were also very pleased at the turnout.
And then talking about the turnout, a number of schools and the teaching curriculum and the execution of duties were affected. Did all of the teachers who stayed away from school go to that protest?
I would hope so. I would believe so. I would believe so. I do not have any other data to share with you on that. But the thing is, when teachers seek to deal with their business as they did yesterday, as they would have done on October the 1st, it is not an abandonment of duties. I heard that.
Yes, that was the question I'm going to, as to whether or not
I heard that being said.
This protest is simply others using it as an opportunity to abandon their duties.
Definitely not. There is a clear procedure for when one wants to categorize abandonment of jobs. But teachers would have their legitimate leave and use it as they see fit. Now, what we have to understand, Hema, is that in our context, we are not allowed to strike under Industrial Relations Act because we are part of the essential services. However, what we need to do, or what we have done in the past and what we will continue to do, is withhold our labor to get a point across. At the end of the day, the schools are part of a broader society. We are part of wider society. Our teachers are suffering as well. Our retirees have to wait sometimes 2 and 3 years before they receive their pension and gratuity. Now, granted, fiscal 2020 would have projected that retirees would receive an interim allowance until they get their superannuation benefits. But why would you want to duplicate that and increase expenditure instead of making sure the processes for retirees to receive their benefits are efficient.
Now, Mr. Freitas, this is what, the second month in the new school term, roughly, right?
Yes.
And you've had 2 days of protest. Is there going to be another before the school term?
I cannot say that, Hema, at this point in time, when the executive and the general council of the association would look at what has transpired, when we meet with the stakeholders, the Ministry of Education, the OSH agency, the CPO, and we look at the responses and what kind of feedback, then we will be able to chart a way forward.
So there's a possibility that there will be another.
There's always a possibility.
What do you really hope to achieve by doing this? From the last one, that was under your predecessor, Mr. Dudai. So I asked him whether it was a muscle flexing exercise. Now we have another one. What is really achieved out of these days?
Public attention. Winning the hearts and the minds of public and having them understand what we do. What we don't see, Hema, what we don't talk about sometimes are those teachers who come to school for 7:30 in the morning and leave school at 5:30, having interacted with students. What we don't talk about in the public domain are those teachers who come to school on weekends, who deal with students on the weekends, simply to support and maximize their performance. What we don't talk about are the teachers who, as ill as they personally are or under the conditions on which they have to work, come to school each day. When you venture to a school, for example, as Santa Flora Government Primary, you look at where it is located in an isolated area. You look at the environment where the school is located, at the physical facility, which is not of the best. And those teachers journey from wherever they live into Santa Flora Government Primary. We need to talk about those things, and therefore, when you have teachers willing to work under those conditions, regardless, in order to deliver the curriculum, to make sure that the learning process takes place, and at some point in time, they say enough is enough. We are not going to put up with it anymore. We want the respect, we want the resources, we want the good facilities.
But you're getting the public attention. There are parents, I mean, when you have these days, there are parents who are thrown completely out of the loop.
Yeah.
And they are saying, okay, it's not just affecting the execution of the curriculum, but it affects everything. There are parents
but then
who then
what
have
do we
to find,
want? What we want is that at the end of the day, that public pressure is brought to
can we
bear.
pressure the CPU? Can we say, Madam CPU, you are affecting everybody's lives?
Yes, we can. And because we exist in a political environment.
Well, we can't really remove the CPU, so
No,
that's why I'm asking in the
we
end.
can't remove the CPU, but we can, because we live in a political environment that is interconnected. At the end of the day, when teachers say, listen, we have had enough, we are going to treat with our business as we see fit. The parents feel, as to use your word, the parents feel pressured.
They feel pressured and abandoned by the teachers.
Well, I wouldn't
and
say
betrayed.
abandoned, because at the end of the day, any teacher who is away from school for a period of time, be it a day or whatever it is, has the capacity and the responsibility to ensure that the teaching and learning process continues.
Now,
I don't think 1 day or 2 days, as we would have highlighted, would make or break the education of a particular child.
No, and that's what I'm going to ask. Do you think will teachers then make it up to the children?
We always do. We have always done, and we always do, and that is part of the commitment. Just some years ago, we had a situation where Malik Secondary, they were out of school for quite some time, good, because of infrastructure issues, and as a matter of fact, they are still in a temporary structure. But what did the teachers do? Without seeking extra compensation, they gave up their vacation to come out and to deal with the students.
No, I am not saying, you give examples. We recently had a story about Shiva Boys, where the teachers came out after the economic hardships hit the area, and children simply did not have money to come to school. And they gave up their time. So I know, I am the product of great teachers, and I always say that. But then you have the flip side, where you have teachers who, these videos end up on social media, where they are not executing their duties properly. There are teachers who are not. And there are a few bad apples that spoil the entire lot. So how are you going to deal with the indiscipline within your profession?
One of the things we have to always remember is that in a human-oriented environment, Hema, there needs to be proper leadership and proper management, proper monitoring. So whilst we would always look at the issue, and it's not necessarily in discipline, it might be that situation where the teacher has reached frustration, where the teacher has had enough of dealing with stressful situations. So on the one hand, what we would need to do as the union is make sure that we look at the mental health situations and the stress levels within our schools, and perhaps have the stakeholders, the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Education, deal with that. When you sit in front of a classroom, Hema, with 35 children, and they are performing at different academic levels, that can lead to stress, because as a teacher, and I'm speaking from experience, as a teacher, you tend to want to do individual work with those children who are being challenged to make sure that they are not left behind. That can become stressful.
So then how are you, okay, so you're saying that some of the bad apples may be as a result of stress. How are we going to address the stress levels and then address those who basically probably just don't have it? Teachers, I think, are born. I've always said that teachers is a God-given talent.
That could perhaps be true, but at the end of the day, there needs to be, as I said, monitoring, which has to be done by administration, both at the school level and at the ministry level. But as a union, what we need to do is inform our members not only of their rights, but of their responsibilities. Let our members know, listen, as a professional, as an education professional, this is what is expected of you. We have within our organization a code of ethics. Now, as you would be aware, a code of ethics is not legally binding, but it has comes with moral responsibility. And so we try to train, we try to indoctrinate, we try to share with our teachers, listen, this is your responsibility to the administrator, to the students, the parents, and so forth. So as part of publicity and public relations, as part of TTUTA reaching out to members, that information about what your responsibilities are to ensure that we have positive work will be done.
We do have to go take a quick break, and when we come back, we have some commercial commitments, and when we come back, we'll get the closing comments. A lady is now in charge of TTUTA. Welcome back to Trinidad and Tobago. We're continuing our conversation with the new president of TTUTA. It's always exciting to see when female leadership is representing up on a senior level. You know, Antonia, looking at the way forward, the relationship, you talk about almost 30 schools that are in existence that you are not satisfied, 6 of which are
possibly 6 are closed.
Possibly 6 are closed, which will affect the teaching and the ability of not just your members, but the students who you are the guardians of during the day. You then have another situation with the overall umbrella of wage negotiations. For the next 6 months, what can we expect on your mandate, your closing comments?
Our priorities would definitely be to have salary proposals developed for the wage negotiations. So we would therefore seek to have a meeting with the CPU at least before the end of this month, so we can have some talks to chart the way forward. The health and safety issues, as I mentioned. And of course, we would want to make sure that we meet with our teachers at different forums. We connect with them. We hear the issues so that we can represent them properly.
I want to congratulate you, and we do wish you all the best. I'm sure that we will continue to have conversations as...
Hopefully, I hope so.
And just for the parents out there, what do you want to say about yesterday?
I would want to say that it's not the end of the world. One day is not going to make or break. Rest assured, our teachers are committed to maximum performance of students. But we need to understand as well that we are parents too. We have families too. And we need to, at this point in time, seek our interests as well. So we look for their support.
We'll see how that one works out. And thanks so much. And at this time, we do have a lot more in stock for you.